Welcome to The Debate. If you've spent any time online in the last week, you've definitely seen the image.
Oh, absolutely. It's inescapable at this point.
Yeah, it really is. It's arguably the most arresting photo of the year so far. We're looking at a concrete enclosure at the Ichikawa City Zoological and Botanical Gardens in Japan. And inside is a 6-month-old Japanese macaque, basically the most vulnerable creature you can possibly imagine. And he is clutching this bright orange IKEA plush toy, an orangutan, with a grip that literally looks like life or death.
It brings you to a dead stop when you scroll past it. You look at it and you don't just see a wild animal, You see a very human expression of loneliness. You see an infant trying to manufacture comfort in an environment that has been completely stripped of it. It's entirely visceral.
Right. We are talking about Punchcone. He is a viral phenomenon, a meme, frankly, a merchandise opportunity now. But the central question we are debating today is whether this viral consumption of Punch's story is a celebration of biological resilience, a necessary harsh road to survival, or if we are actually turning a baby animal's profound psychological trauma into content for our own entertainment.
Exactly. It's the difference between witnessing a triumph and witnessing a tragedy that we've just decided to dress up as cute. I'm here to argue that what is happening to Punch isn't heartwarming. It's a window into deep primate suffering that we are cheerfully clicking like on.
And I am here to argue that Punch's story is actually a masterclass in adaptation and its necessary conservation management. The zoo is navigating an impossible biological reality, and Punch is showing us exactly what it takes to survive in a hierarchical society. I'm looking at the ethology here, while you're looking at the emotion.
Well, I'm looking at the welfare of a sentient being, but let's establish the baseline facts before we dissect the ethics.
Agreed. To really understand Punch, we have to look back to July 26, 2025. This was the absolute height of the Japanese summer. It was incredibly hot. We're talking temperatures that put immense physiological stress on animals. Punch was born, and his mother abandoned him. Now, in the wild, this is a death sentence. It is brutal, but it's biologically efficient. The mother likely lacked the stamina to nurse or carry him due to heat exhaustion, so the zoo intervened. They hand-raised him on a bottle. That decision saved his life, but it created the complex problem we are seeing right now.
It created a problem because hand-raised is really just a sterile clinical term for maternal deprivation. For the first crucial months of his life, right when an infant macaque's brain is wiring itself for social connection, for grooming, for safety, he didn't have a mother. He had keepers. And then, as of January 19th, the zoo decided to reintroduce him, essentially thrust him back into a troop of roughly 60 macaques.
Now, thrust back is a pretty loaded phrasing. This is the only viable pathway for him to actually be a monkey. If he isn't integrated now while he is still neurologically plastic enough to learn the rules, he becomes a permanent outcast. He becomes a pet. The zoo is attempting what is widely considered the gold standard of conservation, which is reintroduction to conspecifics, members of his own species.
But look at the mechanism of that reintroduction. This is where the IKEA toy comes in. PETA and other animal welfare advocates have pointed this out, and the science absolutely backs them up. In the wild, an infant is in constant physical contact with the mother for the entire first year. It's not just about milk. It's about thermoregulation and social buffering, which is the ability to regulate stress hormones through touch. Punch doesn't have that. He has a jungle skog.
The orange orangutan plushie.
Exactly. So when I see people sharing that photo with the caption, hang in there, Punch, I feel like we are completely missing the clinical reality. We are cheering for a baby who is displaying clear signs of anxiety and displacement behavior. He isn't hanging in there like some motivational poster in an office. He is coping with profound isolation.
See, you view the plushie as a symbol of failure or neglect. I actually view it as a brilliant adaptive tool. You have to give credit to the animal's cognitive flexibility here. When the zoo began this integration process, they offered him towels, blankets, other shapes. He rejected them. He specifically selected the object that possessed a face and limbs.
Because he is desperate for a surrogate. He is literally desperate for eyes to look back at him.
Precisely. But the fact that he accepted a surrogate is a massive sign of psychological resilience. In primatology, we refer to this as a transitional object. It functions similarly to a security blanket for a human child, but obviously with much higher stakes. It lowers his cortisol levels enough to allow him to eat and sleep. Without that reduction in stress hormones, he would likely succumb to illness or self-mutilation. The zoo didn't give him that doll to make him Instagram famous. They allowed him to keep it because it is the biological anchor that keeps his physiology stable.
Look, I don't dispute that the doll is keeping him alive. I dispute our framing of it. We are romanticizing a pathology. We're essentially looking at a modern version of Harry Harlow's experiments from the 1950s, the famous wire mother versus cloth mother studies. Harlow proved that infant monkeys would choose a soft cloth surrogate that provided no food over a wire surrogate that provided milk. They need contact comfort more than they need calories. Punch is clinging to that doll because he is starved for contact.
And he is getting it. It's imperfect, yes, but it is contact.
He is getting synthetic polyester contact. And when we turn that into a viral moment, when IKEA donates 33 more dolls and everyone cheers, we are normalizing the idea that a stuffed toy is an acceptable substitute for maternal care. We are validating the spectacle of his misery. We are looking at a monkey trying to derive warmth from plastic and saying, "Oh, how sweet." It's not sweet, it's deeply tragic.
I think you are being a bit uncharitable to the sheer difficulty of the zookeeper's position. They cannot dress up in monkey suits and groom him 24 hours a day. They have to make him independent. But let's move to the core of the controversy, because the temperature really turned up this week. There was a specific incident on Thursday, February 19th. A video circulated that I think changed the tone for a lot of people.
It certainly did. This is the dragging video. If you haven't seen it, it is incredibly difficult to watch. Punch approaches another baby monkey. He is tentative, clearly just trying to initiate play or seeking proximity. The other baby rejects him. And then, an adult female, likely the other baby's mother or high-ranking female, grabs Punch by the fur and violently drags him across the concrete floor.
It was a disciplinary action.
It looked like an assault. He is tiny, he is terrified, and the moment she lets him go, he doesn't run to the troop, he doesn't submissively lip smack at a dominant male for protection, which is what a normal macaque might do. He sprints back to that orange doll and hugs it for dear life. He literally hugs the stuffing out of it. To me, that video proved that he isn't integrating. He is being bullied in a hostile environment where he has absolutely no natural protector.
This is where we need to be very precise with our ethological terms. You just used the word bullying. That is a human concept. The zoo and experts in macaque behavior broadly identify this as social correction. Japanese macaques live in strict despotic hierarchies. It's a matrilineal society, meaning rank is inherited from the mother. Punch has no mother, so he has 0 rank. He is at the absolute bottom.
Which makes him a massive target.
It makes him an initiate who doesn't know the rules yet. The zoo's official statement clarified the context of that video. Punch annoyed the other baby. In macaque society, if you annoy a higher-ranking infant, the mother intervenes. She scolded him. Was it harsh? Yes. Nature is not a Disney movie. But the zoo explicitly stated that no serious aggression occurred. He wasn't bitten, he wasn't injured.
He wasn't physically injured, but watch his body language. That is raw fear. That is trauma. You can literally see the tremor in his hands when he grabs the doll.
I am not denying the fear. I am denying that the fear is unnecessary. If the zookeepers step in every single time Punch gets dragged or scolded, he will never learn the boundaries of the troop. He will never learn submission signals. The zoo describes him as mentally strong, and I actually agree with their assessment. If you watch the full sequence, not just the viral clip, he takes the scolding, he retreats to the doll, his base camp, and then, importantly, he goes back out. He leaves the doll, he pokes other monkeys, he tries again. That is the very definition of behavioral plasticity. He is learning to take a hit, to find his place.
I find the mentally strong argument to be a highly convenient anthropomorphism. It's used to justify a lack of intervention. We are projecting human virtues like grit onto a baby animal that is simply trying not to be killed. You say he leaves the doll to poke other monkeys. I see a desperate, chaotic attempt to find anyone who will groom him. In the wild, an orphan often dies not from starvation, but from the social stress of rejection. The zoo putting out a statement saying, please support his effort rather than feel sorry for him, feels like they are absolving themselves of the emotional reality. They're essentially asking us to turn off our empathy.
No, they are asking us to direct our empathy toward his long-term success rather than his short-term comfort. If we prioritize his comfort, we pull him out, we put him in a house with a diaper, and then what? He lives for 30 years as a neurotic pet who can never interact with his own kind. That is cruel. The heartbreaking video is actually a video of him learning a very hard lesson that will keep him safe in the future. He has to learn that he cannot just approach any baby he wants.
But is the cost too high? Let's talk about the commercial aspect of this, because that brings me right back to the plushie, the IKEA Jungle Skug.
It is currently the most famous toy in the world.
It really is. And IKEA, in what is admittedly a brilliant PR move, donated 33 more of them to the zoo. It was treated by the media as this feel-good corporate moment. Look, Punch has a whole family of dolls now. But doesn't that just highlight the absurdity of the situation? A pile of 33 stuffed animals cannot groom you. They cannot protect you from the female who just dragged you across the concrete.
They aren't meant to protect him physically. They are a psychological anchor.
They are a symbol of what he has lost. PETA makes this point, and I think it's entirely valid. The orange plushie isn't a toy to him. It is a tragic substitute. When he sleeps, he clings to it. That is a deep, anxiety-driven attachment. By celebrating the donation of more dolls, we are celebrating the fact that this animal is emotionally stunted. We are saying, here, have more polyester, instead of asking why he is in a concrete enclosure with absolutely no ally.
I think you are underestimating the value of the surrogate here. Look, in an ideal world, his mother raises him. That didn't happen. Plan B is hand-rearing and reintegration. The doll is the bridge. Without that object, he likely would have failed to thrive entirely. We see this in primates all the time. Without a comfort object, they can develop a condition almost identical to human depression. They stop eating, their immune systems crash. The fact that he uses the doll shows he wants to live. It is his way of saying, I am scared, but I am holding on.
He wants to live. Yes, but are we making his life a spectacle? Because that brings me to the crowds, and this is where I get really uncomfortable.
The attendance numbers have been massive.
Unprecedented. Over 100 people lining up before the zoo even opens. 900 visitors on a random Thursday. People driving 2 hours just to see him. And what are they doing? They are shouting, they are yelling, hang in there, at the glass.
They are cheering for him. They feel a connection.
Imagine you are a 6-month-old baby. You've just been dragged by an adult monkey. Your cortisol is spiking, and suddenly there is a wall of humans screaming at you. PETA compares this directly to the Moo Deng pygmy hippo phenomenon in Thailand. Do you remember that?
Of course. The internet loved her. She was bouncy and wet.
The internet loved her, right? So people went to the zoo and threw water on her and threw shells at her just to get a reaction, to get the meme shot. Massive crowds add stress to an animal that is already struggling to integrate. High noise levels are a known, documented stressor for captive primates. Are we really rooting for Punch? Or are we just entertained by the drama of his misery? Is this just reality TV with fur?
That is a compelling argument, but have you considered the actual intent of the visitors? I looked at the interviews conducted by local media. There was a couple, Sayaka Takamoto and her husband, who drove 2 hours. They didn't come to throw things. They came because they found him adorable. They came because they felt a genuine connection to his struggle.
Adorable is a very dangerous word when applied to trauma. We think a slow loris raising its arms is cute. Actually, it's a defensive posture because it's terrified. We think Punch dragging a doll is cute. Actually, it's a coping mechanism for severe abandonment. We are constantly mistranslating his pain into our entertainment.
But empathy is the gateway to conservation. Humans are visual, empathetic creatures. We see a baby overcome abandonment, and it resonates deeply with us. It triggers our own nurturing instincts. It is not exploitation. It's a shared emotional connection with another species. The zoo isn't encouraging people to harass him. They are managing the narrative responsibly. They are telling people, watch him grow, support him. This isn't a circus. It is a zoo trying to save a life, and the public is simply witnessing that struggle.
I think the line between witness and voyeur is incredibly thin. When you have 900 people staring at a lonely monkey, hoping he does something cute with his tragic surrogate mother, you are incentivizing the zoo to keep him in that state. You are incentivizing the narrative of the sad orphan. It becomes profitable. The sad punch merchandise creates a feedback loop where his isolation literally generates revenue.
I completely disagree that they're incentivized to keep him isolated. The entire goal is reintegration. The zoo stated clearly that they anticipate these challenges, and they are watching him integrate closely. The ultimate goal is for him to eventually not need the doll at all. If they wanted to purely exploit him, they would pull him from the troop, put him in a glass box with the dolls, and charge for photos. They are doing the exact opposite. They are forcing him into the troop where he is harder to see and where the interactions are, frankly, ugly.
But the narrative is the product. Will he survive? Tune in next week. It treats his life like a serialized drama. We check for updates on Punch like we check a sports score.
But isn't that better than indifference? Most macaques in Japan are viewed as pests. They are culled. Farmers hate them. Punch is acting as an ambassador for his species precisely because of his story.
An ambassador of sorrow? Perhaps. But let's look at the alternative. You say the alternative is death or being a pet. What about a sanctuary? What about a different, slower method of introduction?
Sanctuaries are few and far between, and they almost always lack the complex social structures of a natural breeding troop. Reintroduction to the troop is the gold standard because it allows for natural behaviors, mating, grooming, establishing hierarchy. It's just messy. And because of social media, we are seeing the mess in real time. We usually only see the after photo, where the orphan is happy and integrated. Now we are watching the sausage being made, and the process is violent and sad and hopeful all at once.
It is certainly violent and sad. I am not entirely sure about the hope yet. When I see him, I don't see a fighter. I see a baby who has been let down by biology and is now being consumed by algorithms. I see him curled up inside that cinder block, and I don't see resilience. I see a creature that has given up on expecting anything from the world except the softness of that doll.
Let's bring this to a close because I think we are circling the fundamental difference in how we view nature itself.
I think so too.
To me, Punch is a testament to the biological imperative to survive. He is learning to belong, which is a process that is naturally messy and sometimes harsh. The viral fame, while chaotic, highlights a success story of a zoo refusing to give up on a rejected infant. He is eating, he is sleeping, and he is trying to play. That is a victory in my book.
And to me, while Punch may survive, and I truly do hope he does, the image of him dragging that dirty orange doll is a monument to what he has lost. It is a visual representation of his loneliness. I urge our listeners, when they see that TikTok or that tweet, to remember that behind the cute viral moment is a living creature experiencing profound confusion. We shouldn't just click like. We should mourn the bond that isn't there.
It is a story that forces us to confront our own emotions about abandonment, resilience, and that very fine line we walk between observation and exploitation.
It certainly is.
We will have to wait and see if Punch eventually drops the doll and finds a real friend. Until then, thank you for joining the debate.